Thousands of children separated from their parents at the border. Opponents of the president's immigration policies calling for members of his team to be made unwelcome in public. And the president, well, he has no fear of launching personal attacks on anybody he believes has crossed him. So what is happening in America? I want to bring in now legendary journalist Dan Rather, the host of Access TV's The Big Interview. So a slow news day. You want to talk about the weather? What do you want to talk about? We need a laugh.
There are no slow day news days anymore.
So, and do you think in modern day history, have we ever seen this level of increased polarization, lack of civility, nastiness in the public arena and beyond? Have we seen it?
You know, it's a good question, Don, and I think historically, looking at the whole sweep of American history, there were some very nasty periods of incivility in the 1880s, for example, in the 1920s. But no, I don't think we've ever seen anything completely like this. And part of the reason is that whether he is or is not inside himself, that President Trump gives every indication by what he says and what he does and what he doesn't do, that he's mean as a wolverine. And we've never had a president who had that reputation. We have reputations of presidents who are not very good, presidents who broke the law, in the case of President Nixon. But to have the perception in widespread, not necessarily a majority, but probably a majority, but widespread, that the president is that mean as a wolverine. And this lack of civility, not just among competing candidates for an office, but on a day-to-day basis, sinking. You know, decency and civility have to be born anew with each generation. And the question is, the president has a lot to do with setting the tone. And the tone is reduced to a low level that I have not seen before.
So, but a couple things here. So it is extremely selfish and childlike, right? If you like me, I want your attention if you like me. And if you don't like me, then I want to make you miserable, yet I still want your attention. So it's very selfish and childlike in one sense. But I'm wondering on the other side, have people lowered themselves to match this president's rhetoric?
No. People should not, in my opinion. But people are doing that. I think they have, and I think they've helped President Trump by doing that. That's my own personal opinion, clearly labeled. But on a much more important and fundamental basis, Don, you had again today and last night the president saying he wants to make the law. This is completely contrary to American ideals and the American idea.
You're talking about due process and not putting people through.
He's basically saying that he is above the law. Yeah. Now, one of our fundamental tenets is no man, no person is above the law. And a president of the United States is not a descendant of some sun god, and he doesn't serve because he's been given a divine mandate. He serves because he's been elected by the people. And to say what he said about, listen, never mind the courts, never mind the law, this is a paraphrase, of course, I'm going to do it my way. This is, and I think everybody either recognizes it or should recognize it, this is classic authoritarianism, which can very quickly lead to dictatorship or even totalitarianism.
When you think about the rhetoric that is being used and the lack of respect for each other, do you think does it say something about the yawning lack of leadership in this country, people who are especially people who are in the president's own party who just refuse to stand up to him or say that this is wrong? Well, that's a strongly worded tweet or something.
Well, history is going to not judge well, particularly those people, Republicans in Congress, for example, and others who don't speak out when their conscience tells them that they should. I don't think there's any question about that. And furthermore, we're at a critical point here. And that is, we need to start listening to one another. I know it's become a cliche, but we got to start listening to one another rather than shouting to one another. And really listen and try to discuss what we have at stake, immigration being foremost, in some civil manner. But the president has a leadership responsibility. He sets a tone. And his tone, you described it earlier, is one, he caters to his supporters. He damns everybody and everything that even gives one scintilla of questioning or resistance. And this is why we are at a very critical point in the country. It's not an overstatement to say that what's going on now is a great and decisive battle for the soul of the country.
Yeah, and I have said a number of times we have to decide, this administration is offering us, if there's anything, offering us the opportunity to decide or figure out who we're going to be as a country. I have to go, I'm out of time, but it's always a pleasure to have you. Thank you.
Good to see you, Don. Thanks.